It's the SKOR North Twin Show.
Fire it up, Dex. Let's fire up that stove. Oh.
Reckless speculation.
What happened?
Especially on a day like today when it was like 13 degrees.
Yeah.
Waking up this morning here in the Twin Cities.
It's chilly. Heat is up.
Oh, well, the heat's up even more on the MLB hot stove.
I hope it's safe. Oh!
Reckless speculation.
That was Target Field.
Oh, no.
It just exploded.
Target Field just blew up.
It's gone.
No. I can assure you that it's not, the hot stove is not turned on very high at Target Field right now. I can assure you that.
Whoa.
And I think we understand why, but we're gonna go through some of the latest here over the weekend, the long holiday weekend. In fact, it's funny, like I discovered MLB trade rumors, I think in 2007, or it was the offseason where the Twins were about to offload Johan Santana. So like 15 or 16 years ago. And it was like every 10 minutes you just refresh. It was kind of social media before social media. But it's still MLBTradeRumors.com, still thrives, still exists. You can just refresh. And the latest headlines are flowing in. 2 headlines ago, Cardinals finalizing 3-year deal with Sonny Gray on MLB Trade Rumors. Cardinals are expected to finalize a deal with free agent right-hander Sonny Gray, according to John Heyman of the New York Post. According to The Athletic's Ken Rosenthal, the agreement is a 3-year deal worth $75 million. So he turned down, clearly, rightfully so, the 1-year, like $20 million qualifying offer from the Twins. He's 34 years old, I think, Sonny Gray. He's 34. He's getting up there.
I'll look that up.
Why don't you look that up?
34.
34 years old.
34.
Declan had it right in front of him.
Yeah,
34.
Declan has it open, clearly.
Declan.
So let's just start here. There's a bunch of stuff we can get into here, some interesting Twins fodder. Would you have gone 3 years, $75 million for 34-year-old Sonny Gray?
Yes. 3 years, yes. I love the term. I love the term. 3 years, yes. I would have done this. Coming off the season that he had, let's be realistic as possible. In the world of free agent pitchers that you're going to compete for, this to me does not seem outrageous.
Yeah.
Like this is not 6 years and oh my God, he's 32 right now. He's going to be 38, 30. This is 3 years, takes him through age 37. But 25 million per, I'm not sure what you guys think. I think that's incredibly fair. So yes, I thought he was going to get more. I thought he was going to get a contract where I would have said, you know what, no, I'm out. I thought he'd get more term. He didn't. I think this is a miss on the Twins' part not to have, if they weren't competing actively with this type of offer for Gray, I think this is a strike against the Twins. I don't like the fact that he's going to St. Louis on a contract that I think there is no question if they had wanted to, the Twins could have competed with.
Yeah, and you're losing your horse in your starting rotation that was the second best pitcher, so to speak, in the American League last year, at least in terms of Cy Young voting. You're losing almost 300 innings worth of innings from your pitching staff as well. I think I saw Jeff Passan projected like 3 years, $68 million last week when he was doing like his roundup, and he gets just a little bit more than that. But $25 million for a horse like Sonny Gray, and look, like losing Kenta Maeda, all right, not going to no one. I don't think no one will be losing sleep necessarily over losing Kenta Maeda, but you just lost, again, about 284 innings worth of pitching, and you lost your best starter, and the plan is right now, Chris Paddock.
Right now.
The season started today.
Okay,
Chris
but this is what we don't know, and I'm going to disagree with you guys. I mean, it's not our money. There's no salary cap, so like, in a perfect world, you just say yes to every player. And yes, 25, 30 million, what's the difference? There's no salary cap. But the Twins are operating within restricted parameters financially compared to last year because of the TV money going away. And so there's going to have to be, like, realistically, we can either do one of two types of shows here. We can do the why don't they, cheap poll ads, this, that, or we can operate in the reality that they have created, which is they don't have $54 million in TV money. They're going to have to cut somewhere. They're currently tied up for like $120 million if you account for, the current contract. So like they've got to be creative here. And Declan used the word horse. So this is what I would worry about with Sonny Gray. He was a horse last year, and he was second in Cy Young voting, and that's awesome. He threw 184 innings, wins above replacement, 5.5. It was a career-high WAR season for Sonny Gray. And according to Fangraphs, so they put a dollar value next to each player. They basically say if you're Mike Trout or you're whoever, and you're worth this amount of wins above replacement, they can sort of match based on the economics of every player involved in baseball. Here's how much money that player is worth based on how good he was last year. Last year, Sonny Gray was worth $42 million in the baseball ecosystem, and he obviously made less than that. But the problem is he's 34 years old, and in the 4 seasons before this, he was nothing close to a horse. He was nothing close to a number 2 Cy Young voting pitcher. I think this could actually, depending on what they do, if they don't do anything, if Chris Paddock's the replacement, okay, like you can't just lose Sonny Gray and then plug a guy in that also isn't a horse because he's been hurt forever, right? But if you're paying for probably the peak season of Sonny Gray's major league career, unless you want to go compare his third year with the Athletics back in 2015, I think that would be a mistake. So I'm okay, just generally speaking, not paying for the best year of Sonny Gray's career. I think you have to account for the fact that he's been largely hurt at times. He has not been a guy that throws 180 plus innings very often. In fact, the last time he did was 2015. So this seems like a combination of Twins need to save a little money in this regard, and they don't want to pay for past performance of a 34-year-old starting pitcher. I'm actually okay with this.
In Gray's defense, though, 2 years ago, he was not a horse, and this is what he complained about. And it might be part of the reason he left here was because they wouldn't allow him to be.
Well, he only made 24 starts, though.
But they also were pulling him prematurely in his mind. So like there's 2 things here at work as well. I'm just saying, if they go out and make a splash move, pitching wise, good for them. Then I will say they made the right move. But when they are already preparing us for, you got to be careful. TV cash is gone. And I will continue to say it is a short-term problem, yes. But if you are going to take a long-term solution towards that by saying we have to cut, you have to cut some, I'm sure, but you don't have to cut a ton when you have momentum. This is the most important thing. Any move that they make that is perceived as a step back will be killing momentum that they worked hard to build. And this is where I want to see
Agreed.
what they do here. And this is why, and look, I mean, the Gray contract terms, the term and the money to me were less than I expected. I thought he'd get, 4-5 years. I thought he'd get more, certainly on a short term. This to me seems like a reasonable financial investment to make. And if they go out and sign a guy or make a big trade again, awesome. But I feel like we're being set up for don't expect that. Don't expect that. Well, okay. I'm not saying that you can go crazy, but I am saying that you also cannot put a fork into the momentum that you built because of a short-term problem that, by the way, is up to you to solve.
Yep, but that's the thing. Like they've in the past, they traded for Pablo Lopez. They traded for Sonny Gray a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. So they traded for Chris Paddock, even though that hasn't worked out to this point. They would rather go out and make a trade for a starting pitcher that maybe is younger than 34 years old, and you're not in a bidding war with other teams in free agency. And I think they deserve the next 2 to 3 months. And dude, it might not play out until like January. That's the thing. This is what we have to almost resist the urge to say, oh my God, they lost Sonny Gray, analyze it in a vacuum. If we get to March and they lost Sonny Gray and Kenta Maeda, but Sonny Gray was number 2 in Cy Young voting, and they didn't do anything via trade or signing to replace him, and now we're going to have the conversation about can Chris Paddock 1-for-1 coming off Tommy John. He hasn't thrown, you talk about being a horse, like that dude's not throwing 180 innings in 2024. Then we can have that conversation and criticize them. But I think signs are pointing to them trying to leverage a Polanco, a Kepler, some other prospects, or like Trevor Larnach. Like they're going to try and do something, my guess is, to land a starting pitcher via trade.
My experience is I always get concerned when a team starts its offseason by warning me. So I'm going to react in real time until I see that they were just sort of playing around. They're just sort of kidding. And no, we're still good. So I've never seen a team literally start off its offseason by saying, hey guys, we're going to peel this thing back and then not do it. So that's where I'm at right now. It worries me that it feels like we're going to see, well, hey, we told you. That's what concerns me. Hey, we told you we were going to cut back. You can't be surprised by this.
But they can, let's say they go from 155 down to like 130 or 135. There are ways within that. And by the way, there's going to be a bunch of other teams that come down because they're not the only team. There's like 14 teams that are going to be losing out on their local TV money with one off season to try and make it back with advertisers. And like, there's no way that all these teams make up that revenue in one off season. But so they're not going to be the only team. But if we did the math a couple weeks ago on the show, you could scale back by 15 or 20, you mean $25 million and creatively still fill gaps with, okay, take Polanco's 10, send it over here, get a pitcher that's under team control. So I don't know. I'm not like, I was probably the lowest of all three of us on paying $25-30 million for a 34-year-old Sonny Gray to begin with. So I'm not going to move off that stance now that it's officially happened.
I want to see what they do. That's my thing.
Yeah, it would be malpractice for this front office and a slap in the face, to be completely honest, to a whole fan base if you just run out Chris Paddock and that's the replacement for the best starting pitcher you've had in quite some time. And Pablo Lopez is damn good too. Love Pablo Lopez, and they've done a good job at acquiring guys in trade, just like the guys we mentioned, even Joe Ryan too. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they can swing a good trade here. But if they go into the opening day rotation with, Chris Paddock and Tyler Mahle as a revamp plan, then we got bigger problems, huge problems to figure out.
If they trade Julian, because like the Arise trade was a good trade, I think, for both teams, right? But like I don't know that you can get the type of pitcher that we're talking about potentially to replace Gray for Polanco. Injuries, age, blah, blah, blah. If they swing another, and total reckless speculation, hypothetical here, if they swing another Julian trade for a pitcher,
Reckless
how would you guys
speculation.
feel about that? And I asked this with no bias, but I mean, that was sort of the going price to get a guy who was probably would be considered right now their ace pitcher.
Well, a name that was out there a couple weeks ago as we were looking at, hey, which teams could be in the market for like a middle infielder or a bat, and which teams have a surplus of pitching. I believe Logan Gilbert from the Mariners, I think his name was
bring it up
in one of those reports.
Yep.
And so like Logan Gilbert is just like Pablo Lopez, under team control for a handful of years. He makes less than $1 million right now. So he's not even arbitration eligible. He makes basically baseball minimum wage until 2025. And then you get him. So it'd be 4 years of team control versus 5 years of team control for an Edward Julian. And Logan Gilbert was the 14th overall pick in the 2018 draft. Like, just highly regarded blue chip prospect. He's been a really good just rotation stalwart for the Mariners. Like, you could get a guy like that. The question is, okay, let's say you trade Julian. He's your best on-base guy. He's one of your best hitters. He's very cost-effective the next few years. Who slides into second? Do you keep maybe you would keep Polanco then for a year, and then and Brooks Lee starts mashing at St. Paul and comes up. You could do something like that. You're gonna get a much better starting pitcher for Edward Julian than you would for Polanco. But I'd call the Brewers too, man. Like, I would take 1 year of Corbin Burns. I'd rather trade for 1 year of Corbin Burns. I'm not gonna trade Brooks Lee for 1 year of Corbin Burns, but I'd rather have him for 1 year than Sonny Gray at age 34 for 3 years, $75 million. There's other ways to be creative to fill that spot.
Yeah, I'm just curious what those are going to be, and I'm also curious how far would the Twins go, because I do think that if you want another Lopez, I think you're going to have to trade a Julian. To your point, if you want a Burns, that's different. It's more expensive immediately, but it's a quicker fix. So, yeah, I just don't know. I don't know. All I'm saying is the Gray contract did not like wow me as far as, oh my God, I can't believe a team paid that. And ordinarily, like we've seen those pitching contracts before. Like when we see 6 years, I'm always like, I ain't doing 6 years for a starting pitcher. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, did you guys see the Cardinals? So Sonny Gray, who they signed a couple days ago too. Actually, two guys.
Who he's joining?
Yes.
So he's joining Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson are both Cardinals pitchers now.
I think the average age of their starting rotation is 35 years old. I think John Boyer, Talking Baseball, had that this morning, that their average least projected starting five, all 35 years old.
Amazing. Okay.
Well, Lance Lynn, you can have him. I think Lance Lynn's cooked.
What about Kenta Maeda, 2 years, $24 million to the Tigers?
I'm okay with that. I wouldn't have done. He was not a guy that I would have put a premium on trying to bring back. So I'm fine with that. Good for him, for a guy coming off Tommy John, what now, a year and a half ago or so. Nice contract. That one did not bug me at all. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, he was a good starting pitcher. Again, another good trade chip that they were able to obtain. They gave up Brusdar Graterol, and I think there was a little bit of fear there that the Twins were going to give up a high strikeout pitcher who has a lot of velocity. And Gratterol's been good, but I don't think he's necessarily lived up to maybe what his hype was going to be necessarily. But Kenta Maeda was a solid option, 2 years, $24 million to the Tigers, like totally okay with that. But this is where, again, I think you have to kind of like look at past precedents. So they got Kenta Maeda, and they had to give up a decent relieving prospect to get him. When they got Sonny Gray, they had to give up their recent first round pick, I believe, to get Sonny Gray, who was around probably similar service time. So this is where like you can start to do you can look at past transactions and figure out where can the Twins obtain similar pitchers or players for the similar cost. So if that's kind of like the cost, so Gratterol being what I think was a top 5 organizational prospect when they gave him up to get Kenta Maeda. I believe the guy they gave up was Chase Petty from Sonny Gray was he was a first round pick. He wasn't top 5, I believe. I think he was like a fringe top 10 guy. But again, they had to give up that to get an established starting pitcher. So that's probably what you're looking at. Like you're looking at giving up probably a top 10 prospect to get someone that's an above average established starting pitcher in today's baseball.
Yep. It'll be really interesting to see what comes out of this, because it is a huge, I agree with you guys. Like it's a huge, Sonny Gray was one of the best pitchers in baseball last year. And you can't just 1-for-1 swap Chris Paddock in and act like it's going to be the same. Hope is not a strategy, as we say on the show. How about this? What's your reaction to, this is from the Star Tribune, former Twins beat writer Lavelli Neal III, now a columnist. And I'm getting this, it's like a summary from MLB Trade Rumors here, but as the Twins look to reduce payroll this offseason, Lavelle reports that Minnesota's efforts to cut costs have not been limited to the Major League roster. The club's scouting department has seen a number of departures thanks to both desire to trim cost and to streamline the club's scouting apparatus with an emphasis on analytics. Getting rid of humans and replacing them with software.
Yep.
Cheaper software.
Computers.
No benefits for software.
Apple IIes. I mean, we don't know what they're going to bring in. They're going to bring in some old school.
Hey,
computers.
Bob, why don't you come in here, man? Bring a box. So we're replacing you with the new iPhone. And
look at this.
Look at this. You see the cost of Apple Care these days? Like that's pretty expensive too.
Yeah.
You never know. High deductible.
So I think the initial inclination is to then call the Twins cheap, which is fine if that's your choice. I think this is something that needs to play out. Like a lot of teams have done this. So like the streamlining of scouting in the modern age of baseball is not surprising. I guess my question is this. Is this a cutback on scouting, or is this just a change in philosophy? This is one I don't think it's easy to analyze until we see some long-term results of of how they acquire young talent. I think that's the best way to put it. So like, because it's easy to say, well, they're going on the cheap, blah, 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 and perhaps that's it, and perhaps it'll cost them. But I think we as fans and outsiders also have to see how this plays itself out, because it's also being done probably on the newer ways of identifying talent as well.
Yeah, I guess I would say a couple things. Number one, I don't know that I look at the Twins and think, boy, this team needs less human communication and human touch. Oftentimes, I think we talk about the opposite being needed here. Okay, we know what the data and the numbers suggest. It felt like the Twins did a better job at the major league level, at least leaning into, okay, so we know that the third time through the order says this, but we also know that this dude's a bulldog and he looks great tonight. I think they balanced that better in 2023. So organizationally, I don't know. We'll see. Okay, if you get rid of these scouts and you're leaning more on data and information than like human reports, does that lead to wins long term? I don't know. But I think just zooming out for a second, again, it bothers me here. Let's read the lead of this from MLB Trade Rumors again. As the Twins look to reduce payroll this offseason, they chose to put that out there. The Twins chose. I don't know if it was ownership, Joe Polat, if it was our guy Dave St. Pete, but like the Twins chose to gather the Twins writers back at the GM meetings a few weeks ago and say, okay, so we're definitely going to have to slash payroll. If you want to put that out there, you're welcome to. I don't know that that's advisable. Like if this story came out and it said, and you knew nothing about, you could maybe surmise, boy, the Twins, that TV situation looks like they might have to cut payroll, but they haven't said anything yet, right? You'd see this article maybe and think, oh yeah, it's an analytical organization that's just moving even further in that direction, and we could have that discussion. But the fact that it has to lead with reduction of cost is 100% self-inflicted. The Twins waving their arm and saying, hey, great season, everyone. By the way, we're going to slash payroll. Like, I don't know that you needed to put that out like 5 minutes after the season ended.
Or how you did it, right? Like I could see saying, hey, look, you know what? It's almost 100% certain Bally Sports North is going away. We're going to have some challenges, and we're going to combat those as best we possibly can.
Yeah.
I think saying the payroll is going to come down. Now, I think part of the strategy that they thought was it's going to make sense because there's actually some young talent, the Brooks Lees of the world coming up, and that those guys are going to be cheaper. But I think the way it ended up sounding was bad. Now, the one thing I will say internally, though, and Phil, I think you covered the start of this, Derek Falvey has added a ton of people. Like they have added, systems at Target Field, as Patrick used to joke about that can take pictures of the skeleton and analyze things. They have, they have a whole crew that Terry Ryan never even dreamed of. So like, I would be curious to know what these scouting changes do. Like, were these scouts really well paid and they thought it was too much? But that was not pointed out is this team has added a ton of bodies since Derek came in. And so I'd be curious how this now like scales back on that, or is this just more of a change in scouting philosophy, which is an interesting discussion and we might disagree with, but it's not the trigger word that reduction of costs is.
Yeah. It does remind me of the Moneyball movie where Billy Bean brings everyone. That was based on a true story, and it did actually happen where they said goodbye to some like old codger scouts. Say, what are you bringing me information wise that I can't get by, looking at Fangraphs.com? So, but I think if you were to rank all 30 teams, I feel like the Twins would be for sure in the top 10, maybe even top 5 most analytically driven front offices. I think compared to 10 years ago, Terry Ryan's second stint. I remember we did a radio interview. We did like a hot stove Wednesday night show and we still had the Twins rights on 1500 ESPN. And I asked Terry one time, I said, hey, where are you guys at with analytics? There's just been a lot of teams that are leaning heavily into that. And you guys have maybe been a little bit behind the curve. And he cuts me off respectfully. And he goes, Phil, we do have a lot of analytics guys in our organization. It's the 25 scouts we employ. Those are our analytics. Like we've come a long way since then, but yeah, but the fact that it's all wrapped up in like, oh, we're slashing costs, we're slashing
everything
this.
gets
it's such a bad PR look that is self-inflicted. So I don't know. They might tell you, well, we'd rather come out and be honest about it and not blindside fans, but fans were very excited. And there's always been this hovering sort of gray cloud of like cheap poll ads, whether it's fair or not, true or not. And it just heightens that negativity, I think, 2 or 3 weeks after the most fun season in 20 years.
This TV thing too is a short-term thing. Like, it needs to be figured out, and you need to recoup that cash. And that's not up to the fans. Like, the fans have done nothing wrong here. That's the thing. If you had come out and said, you know what, we didn't draw worth bleep at Target Field, and you didn't support us, and so, like, that's a confrontational, but you're also sticking it back on the fans. I guess my entire case is, you guys as a sport need to figure this out. And I don't think fans want to hear about your issues with this. People just want to watch your damn games, and they want you to spend what you spent. And I honestly, in this case, side with fans completely. I don't blame them.
Yep. I think you're right. It's not. I doubt that in 5 years from now you're still going to be wondering, like, where'd that $50 million go? It's gonna get solved either on a team level or a league level, right?
Games are only on radio. It's back to, you got to turn on the transistor radio tonight. Twins baseball coming up next.
Yeah. I think you're right about that. And then one more thing here before we get to the Twins on the Grid. The Immaculate Grid features our Twins. So a report here from Fansided, and again, I don't know who Robert Murray of Fansided is. I don't know that I'd put him on the Ken Rosenthal level.
He's not on the Ken Rosenthal, but he's fairly plugged in.
Okay. So we trust Robert Murray's
So
reporting here.
Declan's vouching for him. Your
Yep,
career's
I am
on the line,
vouching for him.
Declan.
Nope, that's fine. And, well, congratulations. That's a good career to have on the line.
The Twins have been open about their plans to reduce payroll, and that has reportedly led them, again, every story leads with this. And that has led them to try and trade some players from their roster. In an appearance on Foul Territory, Robert Murray of Fansided listed catcher Christian Vazquez as one player that the club has been aggressively shopping. Vazquez, now 33 years old, signed a 3-year, $30 million deal with the Twins almost a year ago. Twins would probably have to pick up a chunk of that money, right?
Yeah. That's something you're giving to Goodwill. You bought it at Lululemon, and you're like, I don't really want this anymore, and I'm gonna have to take a big loss. So here, take it, please, take it off my hands. They signed him to be the number one catcher, and then all of a sudden Jeffers becomes like the most improved Twin of the year from year to year, and they're probably doing everything they can to get rid of him. And you can if Vasquez is going to be a defensive catcher and just model makeup, again, cost efficiency, you cannot be paying Christian Vazquez that type of money and to be a backup catcher. Just can't do it.
So do you pull into Goodwill in your car? The Vazquez isn't back, and they're like, no, we don't take these. Because I've had that before, like with some clothes. They're like, I'm sorry, we don't take these. So would Goodwill take the Vazquez? That becomes my question.
Did you try to bring like underwear to Goodwill? They're like, no, dude, we don't take your ratty ass.
No, I did not try to bring any undergarments. But, there are some things that they won't take. There are some things that they absolutely won't take. And so I'm just curious, is the Vazquez like, oh, yeah, we'll take that, throw it in the bin? Or are they like, sorry about that, no Vazquez, but we'll take the Kyle Farmer.
It's like, I don't know how you're trading Vazquez and saving a lot of money. I guess maybe,
right.
Is there a team that would want to pay him like $3 million and you eat the $7 million? I don't know. They do have that. So Camargo hit 21 bombs for St. Paul last year for the Saints. So you need Jeffers for like 60 to 70% of the games, and then you need to fill with some of the catching depth they have that doesn't cost $10 million. They'll figure it out.
I also have a question, not that this would be a sticking point in if you could trade or dump Vazquez off, but here's my question. Is this the real Jeffers? Is it somewhere in between the guy that we've seen? Yeah. Like, I think he's good enough to play consistently, so I'm not saying he can't. But we've also been misled before by certain seasons, and I'm curious, is this him now, or is it going to be a step back for Dex's favorite word with goaltending? Regression? Catching regression, I'm sure, is a real thing as well. So that would be my one question. Not that I wouldn't dump Vazquez, but I don't know that we could also look at Ryan Jeffers 2023 and say, this is really him for the long term.
Yeah, I don't know. He did make a big jump offensively, but he's 26. Like, it kind of comes with like the natural progression of age.
Yeah, I'm fine
this
with
would
him.
Be where he blossoms. And if you look back at his minor league career, like go back even like 3 or 4 years ago, he was a really good hitter at all levels of the minor leagues. I guess what I'm saying, it's not a shock that he would become an above average hitting catcher based on his minor league career, even though there was a significant jump, like a 200-point OPS jump from, his 2022 year in the majors. But I guess I would trust that you can safely put Jeffers out there for like 2/3 of the games and have a pretty good bat and a good quality catcher. Mm-hmm. So we'll see if they can get anything at baseball goodwill for Christian Vasquez.
Obtain a player. This is no fun. We're talking about guys who are gone. You're trying to dump. Come on, Derek Falvey. Obtain a player. Give us something to talk about from the acquisition side.
It'd be nice if baseball's action period was like, it's 3 weeks and here we go. Like the White Sox are shopping Dylan Cease. I don't think the Twins are going to win the Dylan Cease sweepstakes, but there's a lot of dudes. Dylan Cease is out there. Yeah. The Brewers are having a fire sale. Well, there's dudes to trade for.
So to our long-standing conversation about this problem, I think, was it Thanksgiving Eve or Thursday before Friday when we started to see tweets, Ohtani news possibly today or tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, this is the thing. Shohei Ohtani, this should not be we'll just wait, right? Like, this is where triggering urgency, especially with star players. How much fun would it be if we had Ohtani news like the Friday after Thanksgiving? Okay, boom, it's done. We know the price of poker.
Yep. And the winter meetings are another sort of inflection period for action, and that's in a week and a half, I want to say, or next week or the week after. Mm-hmm. So there's usually action at the winter meetings. But hey, before we get to the Twins on the grid, let's shout out our friends at Finch Home Solutions, Judd. Our favorite van roaming around, fixing your hot tubs, your electrical systems.
Let's hear it, boys. Thank you very much. Finch Home Solutions. You know what? There is no off season for my friends at Finch Home Solutions. Cody and his team, fast, professional, courteous, everything that you could possibly want. Look, I will give them the greatest validation of all time. Sports Dad invited them into his house. And you know what? They did great work. They were friendly. And best of all, they were quick. Because no matter what the project is, it might be changing, an outlet. It might be rewiring your entire home. Finch is going to be there for you. 612-357-2604. Or finchhomesolutions.com. Their website, brand new. It's great. It's simple. Set up an appointment through that. They're going to show up. They're going to do the work. finchhomesolutions.com is your one-stop shopping for any electrical work that you need done in your home. Remember, this is not a DIY situation. This is a finchhomesolutions.com situation.
Hell yeah. Let's put the Twins on the grid here.
Let's do it.
The Immaculate Grid Challenge. We're looking to go 9 for 9, but whenever the Twins are on the grid, we're looking to go low. We're looking for obscure players. We're looking for a low rarity score. And this might be a new category for us anyways. I've seen this on a couple other grids that maybe didn't fall on days where we did the Twin show, but we're looking for a Twin who was a Blue Jay, a Twin who was a Padre, and a Twin who had a 100 RBI season. We're looking for a Mariner who was a Blue Jay, a Mariner who was a Padre, and a Mariner who drove in 100 ribs in a season, a Ranger who was a Blue Jay, a Ranger who was a Padre, and a Ranger who drove in 100 ribs in a season. This is an interesting one.
It's a good one. I like this one. Judd approved.
Yeah, where do you want to start? Judd, what square do you want to focus in on here? Let's start throwing some names around.
Should we start with the Twins?
Yeah.
Since that's the most fun?
Yeah, pick a square.
All right, I'm going to go Twins and Blue Jays.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a couple of catching options.
Ooh.
Oh.
Okay.
All right, first of all, before Drew Butera, his dad, Sal Butera.
Oh, man.
Salvador Butera, who I think is now a scout. He played for the Twins, and then he played for the Jays.
I love that.
The other catching option that I'm thinking of is a guy that I think we talked about before.
Pat Borders.
Pat Borders.
Yeah. Longtime Blue Jay, short-time Twin.
I'll give you a third catching option.
Okay.
From the 90s.
Tools of Ignorance.
Greg Myers.
Oh, yeah. Myers, right?
I think so. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Greg Myers was a Blue Jays catcher. He might have had 2 stints with the Blue Jays.
Yep.
And he was like a good hitting catcher, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
And the Twins had him in like the late 99 or 98, 2000, somewhere in there. Wow.
Bad years. Love
This would also be a Danny Valencia square, but I would
Save
almost
that.
explore the Seattle Mariners Blue Jays for a
Yeah,
Danny
you've
Valencia
got-
option.
You've got way more Valencias.
Obviously, Bobby Kilty would work in the Shannon Stewart trade. Shannon Stewart would work, but that would
Tony
be higher.
Batista.
Tony Batista. John Roush would work. He went to Toronto after he left the Twins. With
There's
the
a couple
eye in
Hall
the
of
back his
Famers.
head.
Dave Winfield, Paul Molitor, yeah. I think we should pick one of these catchers.
Yeah, I like the catchers.
Okay.
So between Greg Myers, Sal Butera, and Pat Borders. Oh my God.
So here's my thinking on Borders. I think Borders is a sneaky grid guy.
Yep.
Like I think the
agree.
90s people know Pat Borders. I'm not saying it's like I think all these options are probably under 1 or near 1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're looking to go like
I hear
0.02 though
ya.
here.
But I think if you're asking which one of these is probably the most likely option, I think people know Pat Borders of those 3 guys the most.
So Sal Butera or Greg Myers? What's going to get us below 1%?
Well, I'm just going to type in Sal here. So Sal played from 80 to 88.
Yep.
Okay. And
Greg Myers would have been like 92 through, or 90.
That's
Okay,
Greg Myers?
97.
87 through 85 to 05.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
probably
it says
that's gotta
80s.
be.
He came up in 87. Oh
Okay,
my
so he
God.
played 18 years. And played
Dude, I
into
think
the
it might be Sal.
2000s.
Might be
I think
Sal
we use
Butera.
Sal. Yeah.
Okay. Salvador Butera.
Come on,
Sal
one time. Go low.
Butera.
Go low.
Point
Point
one.
one. Point one.
Look at that mustache.
That's a great
Look at that
stat.
mustache on Sal.
Okay. You know, when obscure relievers during the time
Yeah,
I
good.
covered baseball, when we can
You
use
got
a Dusty Hughes or somebody. So Pat Neshek played for both these teams.
Yeah.
Pat might actually be a little like among
little
Twins
higher.
fans doing grids. He might be a little high.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'll give you another one.
Okay.
The Twins in like 2011 or 12, I think they claimed this guy off waivers, but he was in those clubhouses that he was at spring training for sure. Luis Perdomo was a
Oh my
Padres and Twins reliever from when I covered that beat.
Oh my God.
And pitch for both of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Luis Perdomo.
I was gonna say Jason Marquis after
Yeah.
his horrible
Perdomo,
start
I
with the
don't-
Twins. He went
Kevin
to the
Correa
Padres.
also pitched for both these
I-
teams.
Correa.
Perdomo's going to be 0.1,
Luis
right?
Perdomo.
I mean, who the hell? No one's going to get that one. There he is. Oh, wait.
Hold on.
9 to 12.
Oh, God.
which one?
What?
There's one from 16 to 22.
This would have been the 09 through 12
Yeah.
one, I think, because
Okay.
I stopped
Oh.
covering the beat in like 13. So
Yeah, you
Okay.
wouldn't have had. Yep,
Luis Perdomo.
that's going to be.
0.02.
0.02.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
go.
There's no way.
Let's
No
go.
way. No way anyone was getting that.
All right, let's have some fun with this 100 RBI one. So,
Mm.
Willingham. I feel like people do not remember Josh Willingham. He won a Silver Slugger.
Okay. I'm writing down names here.
Kubel, I think, did it one year.
I feel like anyone from the early 2000s is going to be, like Kadir, Kubel,
Koski.
Hunter, Koski, all those guys.
Yeah.
If we go back, like Willingham is a good obscure one from after those glory days. But if you go back into the 90s and into the 80s, dude, Marty Cordova drove in 100. Was that the rookie of the year or the second?
Yeah,
He drove it. He had like a
96, right?
rookie of the year, and then he drove in 100, and then his career flamed out.
Wow.
So he'd be an interesting one. Write down. Trying to think of other.
I'm trying to think in the 80s, but I don't think
Gaetti,
there's- yeah, I think they're all fairly
pretty obvious. I mean,
big enough
Puckett,
names,
Herbeck,
yeah.
like, did
Didn't
Herbeck-
Delman-
Herbeck-
Did Delman drive in 100 that 2010 year?
Yes. From the 7 spot mostly.
Yeah, yeah.
That's 'cause that's where
in
you-
fact, he drove in
Not
like
changing.
110 or 120.
That's
That's where he
not
had to
changing.
play. That's
Hitting
where he had to
400
play.
with runners
Okay.
in scoring position, but he's hitting
No,
some.
I'm not going to move him up.
So, wow. Delman, Willingham, Cordova.
Oh man.
I mean, there's Killebrew. You go back
Yeah.
old school.
The 77 team, I think Heisel did it, but I don't want to
Larry
commit to that.
Heisel.
Yeah, I think Heisel did it in 77. That team could hit. I mean, they were great. They just couldn't pitch. But
Crew ever do it?
I don't buy.
Maurer never did it.
I'm
Maurer
guessing
never did
Crew.
it.
Not a Hall
I'm
of
guessing
Famer.
Crew. I'm guessing Crew didn't do that.
Mauer. Put some muscle on Mauer. You
He got a
wine
vote.
coolers.
I saw a ballot.
Saw at least one
Anonymous
vote.
ballot. Got a vote.
Yep.
Anyway,
Okay,
yeah.
for obscure, we're looking at
I'm gonna look at
the
Crew, but I'm not
the
gonna-
obscure ones
but we're not
we've
gonna-
gone with here are Willingham, Cordova, Delman.
Mm-hmm.
Which one of those is most likely to be under 1%?
Willingham is or
I think the hammer.
Delman?
Yeah,
The Hammer?
I think the hammer.
Man. You're
Like-
probably right.
Only
Part of me wants
those
to
were
say Cordova.
terrible Twins teams.
I mean, Cordova would be a good one too. I think those three that you guys are on would be the best.
Let's try Willingham. I'm fine with Willingham.
All right.
That's pretty
Hammer.
obscure.
0.6.
0.6.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice. Carew 100 RBIs in 77.
Oh,
that team was so
You did
prolific.
okay.
But
only
those
one-
guys are so obvious.
That's a
you know?
name. Like that's a
Yeah. That's not going to be a great.
Let's
Square
plug in the
square.
Valencia, the commemorative Valencia Square, Blue Jay Mariner,
Danny Valencia, just a gritty.
great
hero.
platoon hitter.
0.1.
0.1%.
Oh my
Let's
God.
go, guys.
Oh, look at that. We've stacked point ones. Who's a
Oh,
rare Blue
man.
Jay Ranger?
A Blue Jay Ranger.
We've stacked point ones. That's
he
a
wouldn't
first.
be 0.1, but R.A. Dickey would work here.
Yeah, R.A. Dickey was I think he was a crappy Ranger before the Twins got him, right? Or was he with the?
It might have been vice
the-
versa. I think either he went to the Rangers after he was here for like a couple months.
Wow.
I forget the order.
Or did he? Or was he with the Mariners before the Twins? But he was. Yeah, he was a Ranger and a
He would
Blue
work.
Jay,
He would work.
and he's probably more recognizable as like a Met.
Yeah.
And that's a.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Dickey.
All right, Dickey. Unless you
All
guys
right.
have any other.
No. That's
We got to
fine.
keep some pace here because you guys
Yeah,
got to do
exactly.
Royce.
Exactly.
7.
7%. What?
Well, there might not be that many. I
I
don't
don't know.
know.
A couple AL teams.
San Diego.
How about the 100 ribs? So the Mariners have a ton of obvious options from like there's the
Yep.
everyone from like Griffey to A-Rod to Edgar, Tino, Buhner, like that whole era is mostly obvious, you know.
Yeah, Texas. What? Palmero maybe. Juan Gone had to have done it.
Declan and I used I think it was a home run one. We used Richie Sexson on a day you were gone
For the
for
Mariner.
a Mariner. And
Oh, okay.
Richie Sexson had like I think he was there for like 3 or 4 years or something and had big home run RBI seasons.
Okay.
Sexton, Brett Boone,
Yeah.
Mike Cameron. He was pretty good for them. For the Mariners. Yeah, Boone, Sexton. Trying to think of.
Sometimes people forget about Tino. They think of Tino as a more of a Yankee,
Yep.
and they might not.
Nelson
remember.
Cruz. Do people? I guess would work for both these. That would work for 3 of these squares.
What's
It would work
the,
for 4
um,
of these squares? I think actually.
Nelson
Nelson
Cruz is
Cruz
all
works.
over this.
I think
Yep.
he would work in any of these squares.
What's the is the RBI season only with that team?
Yes,
Okay, that's what
we've learned that the hard way.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm
Like
just,
it can't be you were traded halfway through the
Right.
year, is it?
right, which is
Hey, do people-
BS. That's a bunch of crap. Yeah.
So for the Mariners one, here's all the names we've listed: Nelson Cruz, Brett Boone, Jay Buhner, Tino Martinez, Edgar Martinez, Richie Sexson, Declan throw out Mike Cameron. I mean, there's Griffey, A-Rod, but those guys.
That's a solid.
I would
list.
say either
I think.
Tino, Boone, or dude, Richie Sexson might actually be the one
Okay.
here.
That's
Try
just the only one I'm not. Richie's the one that scares me, but
You're not sure about it?
I'm not sure about it.
I'll
I
try
mean, he was
Tino
hitting
then.
like 40 bombs. Like, can you hit 40 bombs and not drive in 100?
We're about to find out if Declan pushes select.
2.
Oh boy.
What a sweat.
I had Richie Sexson on about 10 fantasy teams
what a
back in
sweat.
the day.
Oh, okay.
Him and who was the other guy? Green. Sean Green was another guy back
Sean
in the
Green,
day.
yeah, good player.
Look at the swagger in that photo too. Sexton,
Oh, yeah.
just so confident.
Yeah.
Just mashing.
So, I mean, we could unleash a Nelson Cruz in here somewhere. For the Ranger Padre, we've used Phil Nevin for Phil Nevin. I feel like that square has popped up before.
Yeah.
But Phil Nevin was a Ranger. He was a Padre. Kevin
Boy.
Brown, remember that guy?
Do.
The pitcher, Kevin
Oh,
Kevin
yeah.
Brown. I think came up with the Rangers in the early part of the 90s.
Yep. Yeah,
and then was on the World Series team,
Mm-hmm.
the Padres World Series team in '98.
give that a shot. That's a good one.
Kevin Brown.
Kevin Brown,
Kevin Brown. Yeah.
7%. God, what?
Quite a long
Look at these
time.
'90s. These
Don't
90s
get cocky.
teams.
At least we
Yeah.
haven't been busted yet.
God dang it.
All right.
100
Cruz?
RBI.
Mark
I
Teixeira.
just feel like he's going to be high. Teixeira's going to be high too. You know who won't be high? I've been wanting to use this guy. We've never found the right opportunity. But my guy, Hank Blaylock,
Oh my God.
was one of the best corner infielders for
Yeah,
like
all-star.
4 years. He was a
All-star.
multi-time All-Star.
Yeah, he's a good player.
He was in there.
You trust it?
Trying to think. Well, just hold on. Let's see what else we
Paul
can.
Merrill. Palmero
yeah,
had
like
to
the-
drive
dude,
in
those-
100, right? Those
The early '90s Rangers: Palmero,
Juan Gone.
Ruben Sierra.
Yep. Yep. Oh, did
Ruben
you see
Sierra
the
was-
war comparison of Jackie Bradley Jr. to Sierra?
No,
Basically, I think the war was Bradley Jr. better than Sierra.
I could
You
see
should
that.
look
He's
up,
a good defensive center
All
fielder.
based on defense. Yeah.
Yeah,
And the inverse of that would be go look at Dante Bichette's
his
war.
defense.
It's the defensive
Awful.
war is like it made him a negative, I think, career war player.
Another one for you is Jermaine Dye. Go look at that dude. He there was years where he was like a minus 25
Dude,
runs defensively.
He mysteriously popped up and started to mash at a time
Yeah.
when it was really not mysterious at all.
Yeah. So okay, Hank Blaylock.
Hank Blaylock's a good one.
Rafael Palmeiro, Ruben Sierra. Names we're just throwing out here. Nelson Cruz. Let's go Blaylock.
Yeah, just go Blaylock. Yeah.
Blaylock. I think he had a couple hundo seasons
Okay.
back in the day. 2%.
2%.
Let's
Awesome.
go.
Good job.
Finally got to use Hank Blaylock. Is this our Nelson Cruz bullet?
If we want to, unless we got someone else. But
Mariners Padres. Ugh.
you said Phil Nevin though. No, Nevin played for the Rangers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he played for Seattle.
Nope.
Let's do
Yeah,
it.
let's go.
Let's pay
Yeah.
homage to our guy,
Yeah.
little
Yep,
Nelly.
let's do it. Yep.
34.
Whoa, that
Ready?
must have been high.
was the highest
Oh,
one.
14%.
Nelly, what are you doing to us?
Was the most common answer.
Oh my God. Okay, hold on. You Darvish. Oh, you Darvish. Yeah, that's not surprising.
Nelson's on here a couple times. You look at people using Griffey.
How
Copping out
lazy
with
do you
the
have to be
easy
to use Griffey?
answer. I know. It's
I
not
mean,
the
do you even
spirit.
want the challenge?
Boy, I thought I'm a little disappointed in that 34 rarity score there, but there's always next time.
Our Twins rarities were great though, so I feel
They
good
were.
about that.
Yep. So, all right, that's a wrap on the SKOR North Twin Show here, carrying you through a cold winter with hot stove updates. We'll let you know if the Twins lose any more starting pitchers for last year.
And if they do,
Reckless speculation.